lockdowns began, demand for office space is finally approaching pre-pandemic levels. Can you believe that?
I'm quite shocked. Well, again, in the article, though, it does talk about some cities that aren't, but it's amazing to me that we're bouncing back this quickly, to be quite honest. Again, especially because in the Northeast here, like we're still not fully vaccinated. We're still having to wear masks.
Well,
I know some states aren't.
I don't think there's any states that are fully vaccinated.
Well, no, but there's lots of states that they're not requiring people to wear masks anymore. There's a few states. Yeah. But I do know in the state of Connecticut, though, offices can be back. I believe we're back at 100% here in offices. I don't know who's actually participating in that, though.
Allowed capacity in a lot of states, and you're referencing obviously Connecticut inclusive of that, are allowing 100% capacity back in the offices. That being said, there's an NBC News article out today. Office buildings are opening back up. Not all employees, though, want to return. So there's a lot of people that don't want to go back into the office, despite the fact that these offices are now all of a sudden in high demand. Going back to the office booming article, there's this National VTS Office Demand Index, which is VOTI. There's like an acronym inside of an acronym, VTS, and then
it is
Office Demand Index makes up VOTI, VODI. Anyways, this tracks tenant hours, both in person and virtual, of office properties across the nation. Posted significant and they posted significant gains in January and February. It is now 38% lower than just before the pandemic. By comparison, it was 85% below pre-pandemic levels last May. So they've gotten a lot of that loss back. References,
which really shouldn't be a huge surprise, though. I mean, we were in the thick of it this time last year.
You talk about May 2020. I mean, that was the bottom of everything. New York demand for office space jumped 120% in 2021 and is down 40% from pre-pandemic levels. But 120% jump here basically in the last few months. New York City offices, people going slowly back to the office. Is that a shocker in the biggest city, the best city in our great nation, Nicole?
I don't think it's any surprise. I think, again, as soon as everyone, well, we talk about it all the time. I mean, we've talked about it every, I feel like, episode that we have discussed about the pandemic. People need to be around people. They want to be around people. I think everyone's just ready to get the heck out of their house too. So I'm not surprised. Again, as long as numbers continue to decrease, which I don't really know what New York is doing or not doing, but I'm not surprised by it in the slightest.
This NBC News article, though, and listen, Nicole, you've heard so many people say life is going to be changed forever. We are not going. I mean, I don't know if you've heard it, but I've heard it on plenty of podcasts and all over the place. Life is going to be changed forever. There's going to be, what's the buzzword? A new normal going on here. So, do you think though that there's going to be a new normal, or eventually we're just all going to go back to offices? Which one do you think? Which one are you leaning into more?
Well, I don't know that there's necessarily going to be like, oh my gosh, Byron, it's a
hard question.
I feel like it is a hard
question.
If
you had to pick one, do we go back to the way things were? Do we go closer to that direction, or do we go closer to some new normal? And what does the new normal look like?
No, I mean, I do think that we're going to be going back to the way that it was. I think that there will be some things that will be a new normal. I think that people are obviously learning how to work from home. I think some people have probably prospered working from home. I think that companies are obviously saving some overhead that way. But I do think eventually all those are probably, I don't know that there's going to be a new normal. I do hope that there's going to be a few things that do change. Like, I love the fact that my kids are not getting snow days. So I like that there is the ability for them to continue to learn from home on those days instead of just sitting and bothering me for snacks all day. But I do think that the way, I do think that the way that people work will probably go back. I think people enjoy travel as much as people complain about traveling for work. I do think that people are excited about probably, getting back into that groove. I do think that I have to say, even you and I, right? So like right now we're remote, we're not together, but I feel like I prefer to be next to you doing this than via like a Zoom call. So I do think eventually it will go back to normal. Yes.
Yeah. The podcasts definitely, I think are always better when people are in person.
Meetings are better in person.
Meetings,
I mean,
yeah.
everything really is better in person. I mean, it's always more enjoyable. Again, people love the interaction. What about you? What do you think? You think there's going to be a new normal?
Some things, yes. There's so many people that have gone, to the extreme with this new normal, though. So I think I'm somewhere in the middle, like you kind of rode the fence there. I'm going to ride the fence as well. I don't believe, outside of, Twitter said, oh, you guys can work from home for the rest of your lives. I don't believe there's going to be many CEOs that take that stance.
Right.
I think most companies eventually are going to bring their employees back into the office. New normal, some things like you're going to have to get a new vaccine, it sounds like, every single year. Maybe that's a new normal. I don't know. This NBC News article says vaccines won't even take away all the anxiety. So everybody being vaccinated isn't even going to take away the anxiety. Well, that's clearly going to take
time. I mean, that is always going to take time. I mean, I feel like hugging people again is going to take time.
Yeah.
I mean, all that I can speak to though, too, like we have a cruise line that actually rents below us. They did not give up their space. They're in there. There are individuals that have come back to work. Are multiple people like they were before? No, but they certainly didn't get rid of their space during their close down. And they literally, I mean, if you were to walk by their office, like they even went as far as like shutting off their power, like their refrigerators were like left opened. So again, but they're clearly anticipating on getting their people to come back because they didn't relinquish their spot.
Employers are going to have to accept the fact that there's going to be some anxiety. 48% of employees said they wanted to work a hybrid schedule, of some in person and some remotely. 41% said they were even willing to take a small pay cut to make that happen. People do not want to leave their home office that they've been setting up for the last 12 months.
I guarantee you a majority of that, though, is probably because of, jeepers, what's the word? When you have to drive your car in and
Transportation?
out. Well, yeah, but like commuting. I bet you, they're saving themselves probably, sometimes 3-4 hours in a day by not having to commute. I bet you that's probably more of the reason, to be quite honest.
There are a lot of nuance moments, spur of the moment coaching that happens when you're in an office, right? A couple people are going to lunch and then maybe they're walking to lunch together, or they're walking into work or out of work. And, somebody just has a spur of the moment question that doesn't happen in between Zoom meetings, because when you close your Zoom meeting, you're
by yourself.
You're by yourself, and your cat is walking into your home office growling at you because it wants another can of food, right? Like that's what's happening, as opposed to those little just personal touch moments that happen when you're inside of an office environment. Our real estate team in Connecticut, we are going to expand our office space. That's something that is going to happen for us because we're expanding our business, and the divisions that we're creating, they're just not, you can't do these from home as effectively as you can in the office. And we don't want these divisions, we're not making the investment for these divisions to be 70% of what they could be, and we're just going to let people work at home. No, it's going to come down to people that are comfortable coming into the office and working in a normal 40-hour work week schedule in the office, not from home, where we can't train as effectively, where we can't coach people up as effectively, and we can't make the progress as quick as we're going to need to with the investment that we're making into those divisions.
There's deals that are happening, though, in this office. I mean, you learn so much about what's coming onto the market, what deals may be falling apart that you can then be a part of. I mean, there is, as much as there's probably maybe some additional chatter beyond that sometimes, which isn't always effective. But I mean, there is a lot of good information that is certainly happening within the walls of an office that you certainly don't get sitting by yourself in a room.
If there's a study in 10 years about pay scale of people working from home and in the office, I bet any amount that those that go back to the office are just going to be paid more. Not because employers are going to punish the people working from home, like I'm not going to pay you as much as the people coming from the office. It's because the skill set of the people in the office that are working with others, that are collaborating and learning at a faster speed because they're in that office, are just going to be better at their jobs.
Right.
They're just going to be better.
And more productive.
They're going to be way more productive, and they're going to deserve a higher pay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think this is a racket at all that office space is coming back. And you know what? I think it's going to continue. So if you're a commercial broker that deals in office space, you can take a big sigh of relief here. I think you're going to have a good couple years as
Hopefully.
Listen, the job report that just came out was fantastic. A lot of people are getting hired right now. And if that continues, there's going to be a continued need for office space.
The only thing they don't talk about though here is pricing. Though I'm curious to see how pricing is sort of playing a role in all of this too.
Yeah, and certainly I think in some cities there's probably going to be a discount. Listen, office space, premier office space is extremely expensive. It is not cheap. So 5 or 10%, of a COVID discount, maybe 15 or 20% in some areas of a COVID discount as people are coming back to the office might make sense in some areas. But it's not going to kill anybody that owns these office buildings. The ones that are like vacant right now and haven't been getting paid, they're hurting. But if you've got premier office space in a great location, I think even these New York City, landlords are going to be quite fine over the next couple of years that own office space. I believe that. Speaking of New York City, Nicole,